Good morning and welcome to Sportuccino. I'm Richard Parr. It is Thursday, the 19th of January 2017. Hope you're having a wonderful day today, or you've got a wonderful day ahead of you. We've got so much to crack on in these 30 minutes. We are digesting sports at breakfast, live on Facebook, live on YouTube, and live on Periscope. So great that you can join us on today's show. We're going to be talking about the Africa Cup of Nations. We're going to be talking about the English FA Cup. We're going to be talking about the Australian Open tennis, and we're going to be talking about how you can get better as a person, because we have got an amazing personal trainer coming on the show in about 5-10 minutes. If you've got any questions for him, let us know in the comments page on Facebook and on YouTube. I would love to hear from you on this show. All right, let's begin the day with our morning sports headlines. Milos Raonic is through to round 3 of the Australian Open after he beat Gilles Muller in straight sets. Real Madrid lose for a second game in a row, this time to Celta Vigo 2-1 in the Copa del Rey quarter-final first leg. Liverpool beat League Two side Plymouth 1-0 in their FA Cup third round replay. And Kevin Durant scored 40 points against his former team, the Oklahoma City Thunder, in the Golden State Warriors 121-100 win. Now, you may notice that I'm pretty active on social media, particularly on Twitter. And to use it, I use Hootsuite, which is a fantastic scheduling tool. There's so much you can do that, and it can actually save you a lot of time. Like, you want to be pretty active on social media, and you want to make sure that you're sending out the right messages at the right times. And that's what's so good about Hootsuite, is you can schedule them for the whole week. And rather than just sitting staring at your phone the whole time and staring at a computer, you can actually get it done, let's say, in an hour. Then you don't have to worry about it for the rest of the week. Well, Hootsuite is a really good tool. If you want to try it out, you can test it out with a 30-day trial. I'll put links to it on YouTube and Facebook. Why don't you give it a go and let me know what you think about it. And talking about Hootsuite and Twitter and everything like that, we have a daily poll on our Twitter page. Let's have a look at today's poll. And we're asking, what is the best tennis Grand Slam? Is it the Australian Open? Is it the French Open? Is it Wimbledon? Or is it the US Open? I want to get your thoughts on all of that. Before we see the result of yesterday's poll, let's just have a little chat about tennis. Of course, Novak Djokovic is now in a 5th set against Denis Istomin, really being pushed hard in the second round there in Melbourne. We'll see what happens there. Serena Williams, she is playing later, while 9th seed Joanna Konta, she produced a display to beat 19-year-old Naomi Osaka to reach the third round. But Heather Watson had 5 match points but was knocked out. And Carl Edmund is also out, unable to join other British hopes such as Andy Murray and Dan Evans. All right, let's have a look at the result of yesterday's poll. So that is today's, and here is yesterday's poll. We were asking, should Joel Matip be allowed to play for Liverpool against Plymouth in the FA Cup tonight? And he didn't play. Of course, Joel Matip says he retired from the Cameroon international team a few years ago. He actually wasn't even born in Cameroon. He was born in Germany, but had represented the country, I think it was about 20, 25 times. Decided he didn't want to play for them anymore, but Cameroon say they wanted to call him up, didn't, and now it's a bit of a funny spat right now between FIFA and Liverpool, but he didn't play against Plymouth. What do you make of all of that? Well, according to the poll, 86% of you felt that he should have played, that he should have been allowed to play. Really good to get your thoughts on all of that. 86% of you saying, yes, we'll have to wait and see what happens there. So in the end, Liverpool won that game 1-0 against Plymouth. Lucas with the only goal of the game. His first goal in 7 years. Producer Matt says that is a pretty terrible statistic, and he reckons even he'd scored more goals if he played in central midfield for Liverpool. Not really sure that might happen, Matt, but we'd have to wait and see. So Plymouth losing 1-0 in that replay. Shane Long scored the winner for Southampton as they beat Norwich, while Newcastle, they head through with a 3-1 win over Birmingham. What did you make of all of that? Would love to get all of your thoughts. And a quick little roundup here of the Africa Cup of Nations. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang even, not Patrick, that he scored in Gabon's 1-1 draw with Burkina Faso, while Cameroon, they got a win in the tournament, 2-1 winners over Guinea-Bissau. Get involved with all of that. So that's a bit of a roundup of everything which is going on at the real elite level of sports, of football, of tennis, and everything like that. And I thought we want to get better as athletes and as sports people ourselves. So I would get one of the elite personal trainers live from Sydney today, and I'm delighted that Dylan Rivier from Built by Dylan is joining me live now from Sydney. Great to have you. I love the t-shirt, Dylan, firstly.
Thanks, mate.
As a man of self-promotion myself, I really like it. I'm just annoyed I'm not wearing the Sportuccino t-shirt to match you today.
Oh, come on. Oh, well, next time.
Really good to have you
change.
I've
literally
today,
just finished work, mate, so thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you here, Dylan. Really appreciate it. So let's start from the beginning. Tell us all about Built by Dylan first.
All right. So, I mean, I've been training for a long time. Myself is, personal training, I suppose. I actually didn't study that. When I went to university, I studied education. So the plan was to be a teacher, primary education, in fact. That was the goal. And then for whatever reason, I decided against that and just sort of fell into working at Sydney University. I was already there and started working for their sport and fitness, their elite athlete program, their sport and fitness union. And one thing led to another, and I started taking group fitness classes, and then led to personal training, which led to me sort of leaving them and going out on my own. And the whole group aspect of what I'm doing now outside my group sessions down at Bondi all really began with a bunch of mates. I had a whole bunch of friends that wanted to start training, and none of them could afford one-on-one personal training. I wanted to help them out, but time is money, unfortunately. So I just decided, look, let's just get a whole bunch of you guys together and make it really affordable and just get down there and smash it out. And it was fun for me too, because I got to get involved, and that it just sort of evolved from that, to be honest.
Some of the advantages are obvious, but what do you think the real gain of group training rather than one-on-one training is?
Look, some people really thrive in that group environment, and I think I don't have big groups. I keep them around 10 people. It's just big enough to create a really good dynamic. You feel like you're working in a team, but you're not just getting lost in a crowd with some guy barking orders at you. And it does, whether you think that you're competitive or not, it does tend to bring out the competitive nature in people when they're training with others. But it's because you spend, my sessions, I've got 4 sessions a week with these guys. When you think about it, often you don't see your best friends that much, So I've got them 4 times a week in the morning. They really do develop good friendships. So it ends up being, rather than sort of cutthroat, they really kind of help each other and lift each other up when they need a bit of a hand, or give them a bit of a push when when they might need it. So I guess that's the advantage of training with a group like that.
And how difficult can it be for you sometimes when you've got people of all different levels of ability and different goals that they want to reach? Some people might have pretty good fitness and want to just continue that and keep it going, while some people really just haven't been doing anything for years. Maybe that's due to laziness, or maybe that's due to injury or something like that. How difficult can it be to kind of manage both of the expectations from those two different types of people?
Look, that happens all the time, almost every round. Mine works on a 6-week program, so every 6 weeks I'll get people that'll roll on it and do another one. So they've already sort of got an edge on the next lot that come through. But every single round I've got a really quite a varied mix of people from, like you said, may not have exercised for a long time due to illness, injury, or just, it's quite easy to fall by the wayside when you start working full time, and then generally speaking, health and fitness tends to take a back foot. And then I've got guys who have been with me for a long time who are just absolute weapons. As far as a programming perspective, that there's a little bit of a challenge there. But the way I like to do it with my groups is I'll after the first week I'll have a rough idea of everyone's fitness levels, and so I cater my sessions to be doable for the least fit person in that group should be able to finish the session. And then what I do is I just have options, option A, option B, option C, whatever, for those who are willing and or able to sort of give it a bit more of a nudge. That way everyone finishes just as exhausted as one another, and also everyone gets that sense of achievement. There's no point making a really tough session and having half your group not being able to finish it. I mean, it's challenging, but that can be kind of demoralizing, and they start thinking, oh, shit, I'm not good enough for this group. I can't keep up, et cetera, et cetera. And it's a bit of a downward spiral. So I try to make it doable for everyone, and then those who find that a bit easy, they get to ramp it up a notch.
So you're in the beautiful setting of Bondi Beach in Sydney. So what are some of the
Yep.
exercises that you can do in that scenic environment?
Mate, we're pretty lucky down here. Hey, there's no shortage of good views, not just the scenery, but we've got soft sand, we've got water. So when the conditions are good, I'll get my team into the water. We'll do ins and outs, which is like it sounds. We basically run into the water, turn around, run back out again. And the actual length of the beach, the width, I suppose, from the water up to the retaining wall can be anywhere from 50 to 100 meters, depending on the tide. So that's a fair slog coming out of the water. We use that for resistance. I've got a bunch of little bits and pieces of equipment that I'll bring down occasionally to create some sort of little hit circuit. There's also a fantastic set of monkey bars or outdoor training gym that you might have seen on media. It's pretty iconic for that area, and beautiful backdrop. We've got a bunch of bars we use for pull-ups and push-ups, all sorts of things like that. Plus, and just amazing parklands around the area that we can spread ourselves out and bust out all sorts of things.
Yeah.
With the beach in the background, everything's a little bit easier, I think.
And do you have a favourite exercise, Dylan?
I am a big fan of pull-ups and push-ups. I'm old school. I like pull-ups and push-ups. Pretty much there's your whole upper body workout done and dusted right there. So as far as my outdoor calisthenics sort of thing, that's my favorite. And I've had, like a lot of your audience, I'm sure, can relate. I've had a couple of knee surgeries through playing sport when I was younger, and running on pavement gives me a lot of grief. I can do it, but the next day I pull it pretty sore. I find running on the soft sand doesn't give me any problems at all. So that's definitely my preferred form of running on the sand for sure.
And what about your clients? What is the one exercise which they probably dread the most, but you think gives them the best results?
Without a doubt, the one exercise that everybody hates. I've never met anyone that enjoys burpees. I don't know. It doesn't matter what we're doing. If I throw in some burpees into the mix, it just ruins people because it's so tough. What else is rough? Any kind of, I'm not sure if you've ever done any sort of running on the sand, on soft sand. It's easy, 1.5, probably twice as difficult as running on pavement. So any kind of sprint drills that we do down there is also super tough, but made a little bit easier to swallow in that once we're done, we can just run in and grab a quick swim before we have to head to work or breakfast in my case.
Yeah, speaking of breakfast, what is typically in your diet?
So I'll eat twice in the morning. I eat first thing when I wake up. It's either 4:15 or 5 o'clock, depending on my first session. I'll have a big bowl of oats with protein powder, bananas, blueberries, maybe some mangoes. So I'll smash that first thing in the morning, which took me a while to get used to. Eating that early, but now I can't live without it. And then I'll have my first few sessions. So I might be training for the next 3 or 4 hours, usually for about 3 hours, and then I'll eat again, eggs, avocado, sometimes chicken or salmon, bacon, ham, something like that. What else? Tomato. So I'll have like a hot breakfast after that, and a coffee. Definitely a coffee.
I'm drinking a coffee right now, mate. It's pretty early here, so starting the day. So
it's almost dinner time. I'm starving.
Are you good to play? We're doing a new feature called 5 Favourite Things, and it's just finding out a little bit more about you as the person rather than the trainer. So it's mainly about
Right.
your interests. So a bit of a quick fire round. I'll just throw things at you. It could be like favourite pet, favourite this. You can give me a quick answer. And then if there's one I want to
Oh,
go into more detail with, I'll ask you at the end of the 5. Okay?
all right. I'll try.
So, favourite food?
Eggs.
Favourite film?
True Romance.
Favourite city?
Sydney.
Favourite song?
Oh, man. I've got so many favourite songs. Free Bird, Leonard Skinner.
And favourite book?
Oh, favorite book. You know what? I read a whole lot of like old school sci-fi and fantasy stuff. Favorite. I couldn't tell you. I really enjoyed the Game of Thrones series until that went a bit strange. Let me get back to you on that one.
No worries. Well, I love the Game of Thrones TV show. Would you say the books are worth reading as well, or if you watch the TV series, you don't need to?
The books are definitely worth reading. Always, always. There's a hell of a lot more going on. But I mean, up until the last season, the books were ahead of the TV show, so I sort of knew what was happening. But now I guess they're just making it up as they go. So who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah,
the books are not finished yet.
We'll have to see what happens there.
He still hasn't finished. I'm pretty sure he wrote the first one 20 years ago.
It's been a while, and he's taking a long time to write the new ones. That's why they're kind of having to slow it all down. All right, well,
Yep.
Dylan, it's been really good to talk to you. Before we go, tell us about your 6-week program that you've got going.
Right, so it's just a outdoor training for 6 weeks, a 6-week progression to get, I guess, what are the results? People, especially right now in Sydney, it's the height of summer, right? It's really hot days, so I guess everyone wants to feel confident in their bikini or their board shorts or speedos, whatever it is. So we combine calisthenics, body weight exercise with high intensity interval training, sprints. We use the soft sand and the water, like I mentioned before, when the weather permits. And it's just a good bunch of people, small groups, get together 4 times a week and smash it out.
Well,
it's good times, mate. You got to get down here and give it a crack.
Definitely. I've been to Bondi once before, but not been trained by you. So I need to return and get done that. I need to be built by Dylan. It's been really good
Next
to
time,
learn
I'll get you a T-shirt as well. All right.
Why don't you just tell us your social media channels before we go, so we can continue to follow what you're up to? I know you've got a fantastic Instagram channel.
Yeah, so my Instagram is just @builtbydylan. Same with Facebook and Twitter, although I'm useless on Twitter. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know how to use it. I just upload photos every now and again. But yeah, Instagram and Facebook @builtbydylan. Check it out. Give us a follow, and hopefully you like what you see.
Definitely. Well, it's been really good to get your thoughts today. Dylan Rivier, thank you so much for your time and being on Sportuccino.
My pleasure, mate. Thanks for having me.
Great to learn some top tips there from Dylan live on Sportuccino this morning. As I said, I've got to get back to Bondi Beach and learn from Dylan. And one of the things we love to do on Sportuccino is to travel. And as I mentioned at the end of yesterday's show, we will be going to Cape Town from Monday for live shows of Sportuccino. Can't wait. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. And yesterday we had the food, fitness and travel blogger Carly Neve on the show, leanlivinggirl.com, and she gave us her top travel tip.
Previously on Sportuccino.
It's very tempting to kind of like get on holiday and then sit on the beach and have a million cocktails full of sugar and never work out. But the problem is you get back from holiday meaning to feel relaxed and kind of refreshed, and you actually feel awful. So I try and incorporate 1 or 2 workouts during the week, like nothing's, heavy, but a casual run along the beach and, not try and drink every single day to massive amounts. But I do let go, like it's holiday and you do have to relax a little bit.
Well, I'll have to take that advice when I go to Cape Town for Monday's Sportuccino. Well, it was a great tip from Carly, But why don't I give you today's Sportuccino travel tip? So a lot of you, when you go to book a flight or a hotel or anything like that, are using TripAdvisor, and it's a site that I personally use, but it's one which I think you need to not take so seriously. You know, you need to really look at it properly. It's very easy looking for those 4 and 5 stars and everything like that. But just if you see any bad reviews, those are the ones you need to just take a moment to read. Don't necessarily read all the good reviews, because in general, most of them will be good and glowing and things like that. But read the negative ones and take some of them with a pinch of salt. You know, your expectation for a holiday might be different to someone else's. Like, for example, a lot of Americans, they really find air conditioning very, very important in every hotel you go. Well, us from Britain, for example, we're used to the freezing cold, and actually if the room is warm, we quite like it. So where there might be a complaint about that, it might not necessarily affect you. Like, for example, I've seen complaints on TripAdvisor about people saying, oh, there weren't enough ice buckets by the ice dispenser in the hallway. Like, really, who cares about that? No one. And you can't really think that that's going to really affect your holiday because you can't get enough ice dispenser buckets. That's kind of nonsense, in my opinion. So look at those reviews carefully, and, you know, really read the negative reviews on TripAdvisor to find out whether you could be getting a really good deal on your hotel or on your flight. All right, that is today's travel tip. Well, we spoke a lot about what people are trying to achieve and the goals they're going for with Dylan Rivier in our interview on Sportuccino today. And I had the pleasure last night of interviewing the 3-time Olympic gold medalist and 5-time world record holder, Stephanie Rice, the former Australian swimmer, who's now a very entrepreneurial lady with lots of business opportunities going on right now. And she was mentioning about goal setting, and she was actually saying that she is someone who does try to do a goal of the day. She is someone who not necessarily sets a big target, but almost has that one thing she wants to achieve every single day. And I was pretty pleased, because that's what we do on Sportuccino every single day on our Snapchat page at Sportuccino. Why don't you have a look at what I'm trying to do today? Good morning, Snapchat. It's time for another goal of the day exclusive to Snapchat. Now, normally I book my guests for Sportuccino well in advance, but unfortunately I've got a cancellation. So today's goal of the day is to book a new guest for Thursday's Sportuccino, and quickly. That's my goal of the day. What's yours? Now, the UFC fighter Holly Holm will be going for a big win in the next round of the UFC 208. We were going to be looking forward to that event this weekend, but it's actually got postponed due to a venue change. It's now going to be in February, and Holly's current record of results is today's stat of the day on Instagram. Have a look at this.
Holly Holm has lost her last 2 UFC fights since beating Ronda Rousey.
Yes, the real unpredictable world of MMA. Holly Holm with that huge upset over Ronda Rousey. It must have been about 18 months ago now, where she upset the world, defeated the, at the time, undefeated Ronda Rousey. But since then has lost 2 fights. She's back in action in February, and we'll do a full preview and review of that as and when it happens in February. Can't wait to do that. All right, just want to give you an update on today's sports health and fitness product review. I say update because I'm not actually going to do it today, because it is the High Five Gel Plus, and it's one of these energy gels which a lot of people are now using in the gym just before they start to work out. In fact, the open water swimming world champion Kerry-Anne Payne, who I've had on my podcast, The Best in the World with Richard Parr, she mentioned that's one of the things she eats when she's feeding during a big 10K open water race. Not particularly that brand, but these energy gels. And so I didn't want to just eat it on this show like I do with some of the products. I want to see if it really affects me when I'm competing or when I'm doing any other sport. So in fact tonight I'm going to be playing a bit of six-a-side football, and I'm pretty tired today, I'll be honest. All these early starts can get pretty tiring, so I'm going to be trying out this energy gel just before this football match, and I'll let you know how I get on tomorrow's Sportuccino. So stand by then for our sports health and fitness product review. So a few other things I want to mention just before we go. Very sad news about Baroness Rachel Hayhoe-Flint, the former England women's cricket captain who has died at the age of 77. She was also the vice president of Wolverhampton Wanderers. She was captain of England between 1966 and 1978. And she actually played in the first women's match at Lord's. Very sad news about that. Also some concerning news for the sprinters James Ellington and Nigel Levine. They've got career-threatening injuries after a motorbike accident in Spain. They both survived that accident, but their competitive careers are in doubt at this very moment. All right, let's get a quick reminder of today's sports headlines.
30 Milos Raonic is through to round 3 of the Australian Open after he beat Gilles Muller in straight sets. Real Madrid lose for a second game in a row, this time to Celta Vigo 2-1 in the Copa del Rey quarter-final first leg. Liverpool beat League Two side Plymouth 1-0 in their FA Cup third round replay. And Kevin Durant scored 40 points against his former team, the Oklahoma City Thunder, in the Golden State Warriors' 121-100 win.
And we've just got some breaking news here at Sportuccino. Novak Djokovic has been knocked out of the Australian Open in the second round. He's been beaten by the Uzbekistani Denis Istomin in 5 sets. He's world number 117. He's won the match 7-6, 5-7, 2-6, 7-6, 6-4. The match lasted 4 hours and 50 minutes. Absolutely unbelievable. Novak Djokovic has won the Australian Open 6 times. He was going for a record-setting 7th victory, but he has been sensationally knocked out. What do you make of that? Absolutely amazing. We are coming towards the end of today's Sportuccino, but if you've got any thoughts on that, continue the conversation on our Twitter page, on Facebook, and on YouTube. Huge news in the world of tennis. Novak Djokovic, he had a pretty poor end to 2016 where he lost his world number 1 spot. He hasn't won a Grand Slam title since the French Open. What do you make of that? Could this be the real demise of Novak Djokovic? Haven't seen the match myself. We'll look back at it and we'll talk a bit more about it on Friday's Sportuccino. Can't wait for you to join us tomorrow. Before I go, if I could ask you to do one thing, that would be like our Facebook page, facebook.com/Sportuccino, or subscribe to our YouTube channel. On tomorrow's show, we'll be joined by Joel Bailey. He's from Football Whispers, and he'll be giving us the inside knowledge on all of the big football transfers happening around the world. Can't wait for that. Can't wait to speak to you tomorrow. I've been Richard Parr. You've been watching Sportuccino. I'll speak to you tomorrow morning from 8 GMT.